Welcome to the Bear Talk, your go-to Chicago Bears podcast, where a father and son break down all things Bears, from Soldier Field to Sunday showdowns. I'm your host here, Dylan Weaver, and as always, joined here with my dad. But today, guys, we got special guests joining us, two of my good buddies from back home in Illinois. Even though they're on the wrong side of the fan base, they support a team further up north than the Green Bay Packers. But I got my two buddies on here today with us on the show, Gavin and Avery. Welcome to the show. Why don't you guys kick us off? Give us your thoughts on the Packers so far this season. Whoever wants to kick it off first, but both teams definitely having a great success this year.
Yeah, I'll start first. My name's Gavin. I'm a huge Packer fan. Pretty much, I live in the Chicagoland area, but a huge Packer fan. My whole family grew up in Green Bay. So yeah, so far on the season, I think we're having a great season. It's been interesting with Jordan Love. I think he's had some ups and downs throughout the season, but I think he's been performing pretty good. And especially last week, he had a great performance and heading into the Bears Packers game. So it'll be a good game. And I really wasn't too hopeful of the Bears. I know they're 9-2, I believe, but I think after beating the Eagles, they showed themselves a little bit better. Still a little suspect on my end, but I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, no,
I agree with Gavin.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Jordan Love coming into the year as a Bears fan, he definitely had his questions, about him, maybe turning over the ball. He does like to throw those deep balls at times, but honestly, from an outside perspective, as much as I hate the Packers, Jordan Love is a great QB. He's definitely playing, I would say, at a top 5 level in the league. I think he only has 3 picks on the season. 1 strip sack in that Eagles game when they played the Eagles. But for the most part, I think Jordan Love has been playing at a really high level, especially due to the fact with, some of their weapons being limited. Obviously, Tucker Kraft was a huge part of their offense, but now, with him having that season-ending ACL injury, he's having to find other people to rely on. And it looks like, they got reinforcements coming in Jayden Reed this week. I don't know, Avery, if you could fill us in more. You think Jayden Reed's going to play this week?
I've been seeing clips today of running routes hard and stuff. He looks pretty good for what he was battling this year.
Yeah, no, I think Jayden Reed would be a huge part for you guys. Obviously, the Bears have film on him. We've played him before, but outside of a couple of games this year, he hasn't played much. So it's going to be, something where you don't have a lot of film on. They can definitely scheme him open. He's one of those speedy guys too, where if you get him in space, he can make an explosive play at about any minute. But honestly, from a Bears fan, the Bears have not been pulling their weight in this rivalry as far as just being a competitive football team these past couple years. Not even past couple, like the past half, decade, we have not been pulling our weight. But I will say, though, the NFC North, this is what it's about. It's about Bears, Packers. It's about these two teams in the division, and they're both at the top. Winner of this game, takes over first place after week 15. But I think it's going to be a good one. Dad, what about you?
I'm going to take one out of Eminem's book from 8 Mile, where he talks about Clarence, and Clarence his parents had a real good marriage. I would say, the Packers are great, right? They've actually owned the Bears, right? As we know, Aaron Rodgers owns a lot of stock in the Bears. And Matt LaFleur, I think he's the number 2 coach of all time for most wins in his first 5 seasons. But if you look at the trend, 13 wins, 13 wins, 13 wins, and then it starts going down. Same thing with postseason. He went with 2 NFC championship games but lost, and then divisional round, and then wild card matchup lost. If I do recall, we beat the Packers last with Caleb Williams, and we were winning, Avery, before Jordan Love came out of the game. So don't bring up the Love didn't play.
Hey, you only played 2 quarters, just like.
That's called a half, and we were winning at halftime.
There's 4 quarters in a game.
But here's what I'm going to say. Every team has their time, and I think the Packers have had enough time, and it's time for the Bears now. And I think we should be happy about that.
I don't know about all that. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the Packers won 10 straight, I believe, going back to 2018, 2019. And then I know you guys ended it in 2025, but that game, I mean, what was that? That was the last week, right? Of the regular season. And that game didn't even matter for the Packers. I mean, we were going to playoffs regardless. And hopefully this year is a little bit different for at least like the final stretch, especially when we go to playoffs. Hopefully we could get past hopefully we don't play the 49ers because I mean they beat us every single year. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The only thing I will push back and back my dad up on that Week 18 game last year when the Bears finally won after 11 matchups is, I will say, if you guys remember, I mean, you guys know the better ending of your season in the regular season than we do, but you guys were red hot, and then towards those last couple of games of your guys' season, it started to fall apart right before the playoffs. And it almost felt like that Bears game last year, you know, all your starters started the game. And then obviously Christian Watson, I believe, went down in that game and people started getting banged up. And then that's when they pulled Jordan Love and everybody else because they're like, at this point, you know, we are already guaranteed in the playoffs. At this point, we were trying to play for seeding. So we're going to pull everyone just to be safe and get ready for, you know, the playoffs. But if I really do believe if Christian Watson doesn't get hurt, you guys play because you guys can admit whether you want to or not, you guys were at the end of the season starting to crumble right before the playoffs, and you guys were trying to get back on track going into it. And I think that was what that Bears game could be, and it ultimately went the other direction nonetheless. And further that, if you do want to back up before the Week 18 matchup, the previous matchup, when all your starters did play, well, actually, I think Jordan Love was out. Malik Willis played. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I can't exactly remember in the first matchup, not the Week 18 one. But that game was also, we were going to hit the game-winning field goal, and credit to you guys on special teams. You guys blocked it, but that game was down to the wire as well. So I think, you know, last year, although the Bears were a bad team, and this was the message of the Bears season last year and why Ben Johnson's here now, you look at all of our games, even with the Lions and Vikings, those were both 3-point games. Like, we held all the top teams we could play close. It just came down to coaching and not being able to execute time management, and the reason we lost a lot of one-score games. I don't remember. I think we were I think the stat is like 2-7 last year in one-score games, and then this year I think it's now 6-1 in one-score games, and it just shows that's a credit to Ben Johnson, obviously, this year. But the Bears' record definitely didn't reflect as bad as it was last year. It just really came down. Obviously, you had 3 OCs, 2 different head coaches. Like, it was a mess. Defensive coordinator, you know, obviously was Matt Eberflus. When he got fired, someone else takeovers there. Like, it was a dumpster fire, and it has been what the Chicago Bears franchise has been known for and why we're the laughing stock. But that's why there's a new sheriff in town and Ben Johnson. And I mean, give us your guys' thoughts. You know, we kind of gave you some of our thoughts Packer season, but what do you guys think of the Bears and what Ben Johnson has to do to turn this thing around so fast for the Bears?
100%. You guys, I can't really tell. Like, when's the last time you guys have an offense head coach? And usually those guys are at the top of the hierarchy for coaching. But you got Mike Tomlin, always had a 500 season as a defensive coordinator. But in today's world in NFL, like, you need a head coach to be on the offensive mind. They're the ones that are making the calls. But
yeah,
especially last year, you were talking about the Bears keep losing the last second last year, and the city just crumbled like that. But this year's different. You guys are winning those one-score difference.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the biggest thing this year with the Bears that, like you said, it's the one-score games, but it really is coaching. The way that Ben Johnson has these players like buying in 1 year is kind of insane. You know, I did have high hopes for this season with Ben Johnson, and the fact that, you know, he was the number 1 sought after head coach in the offseason. You can argue is him or Vrabel, but I think it was Ben Johnson, just the play calling that he does. and knowing that you'd have that in-house. And the major question in the offseason with the Bears was, okay, Ben Johnson is an offensive guru. He can call plays. He can scheme stuff open, but can he get a culture and build a locker room? And he's probably surpassed everyone's expectations of that. Like, it's not even a question anymore. Even though you guys are Packers fans, I'm sure you guys see the good, better, best videos. Like, he's got that locker room, hyped up, believing in themselves. And this is what this Bears team needs.
Did you guys go get your free hot dogs?
I did not. I live
I
like a mile away from there, but I did not know. I'm sure it was packed.
It was.
You should have
yeah.
went.
Yeah, I should have. And they had it. What was like when Caleb Williams threw for like 4 touchdowns like a couple weeks ago too. I know they did that as well. And Caleb Williams' dog showed up. I did see that.
Yeah.
But I mean, how I view the Bears this year, I mean, I definitely think the head coaching change is huge, and for him to turn it around like that quick is pretty impressive. I feel like, and kind of like last year, you guys pretty much lost all your close games, and then now this year it's pretty much just flipped. So that does say a lot, especially in those like super tight games where it comes down to the wire as far as like coaching staff goes. But then also like playing like a college sport, and I know you did too, Dylan. Like when you're playing and you're having fun with like everyone around you, it just like is a huge culture change. And like I could tell, like I've seen some of the videos of like the good, better, best after the locker room. Like every guy in there is hype, like getting excited. It's like that's the one thing that scares me the most. Like especially in the NFL, maybe some guys just go and play because they're getting a paycheck, they get paid a lot of money. But you could tell that some of those guys in the locker room are really like devoted and really devoted to winning and to being like better for the Bears. So that's the one thing that's super scary. And when they're all having fun doing it too, and they're winning, like momentum is just going to keep coming. So I would say that's like the best thing that the Bears have going for them, in my opinion, because that's the biggest weapon of all, I think. But yeah, that's what I got for them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your point in the college thing, because the most successful season I had in college was we did a lot more team bonding. We partied. We did every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're all getting together. Doesn't matter what anyone's doing. It was just fun. It was easy. It didn't feel forced. And we ended up going to the national tournament that year, and it was the first time in program history. So it's like when you have a group of guys that are close and they're buying into a culture, and like you said, they're just out there enjoying it, having fun. It is scary because it's just a snowball continuing to build. And obviously there's going to be adversity. The Bears, my dad over here, he did say they're going to go 15-2, which at first I thought was a little crazy, but I mean, there's 5 games left, and I don't think we're going to win all of them, but there's a good chance, they're up in 11, maybe 12 wins, I would say. And that is crazy. And they've responded to adversity well, even in a lot of these games. Caleb especially, like the stat I was looking at before hopping on here is like just last week, he threw that pick on that screen pass. Caleb definitely should have lofted the ball more. And then the defender gets his arms up, a D lineman, and picks off a screen pass, which shouldn't happen. And essentially the next drive, Caleb comes in 5 for 7, and then he throws that dagger touchdown to Cole Kmet to end the game. So he's same thing in the Steelers game. TJ Watt strip sacks him for a Steelers touchdown. Next drive, he drives them 90 yards down the field for a touchdown. Like Caleb has responded to adversity well, but I think it's a credit to the whole team. Like they don't give up. That is like their key. And the thing with this Bears team that gives me confidence is if this game is close in the fourth quarter, or any game in general, not even just Packers, I have faith that the Bears are going to find a way to win, because that's what they've done this year. The Bears, I mean, you can say Caleb Williams leads, or he's tied in the league with Bo Nix in game-winning touchdown drives, but I'm at least a little bit of a realist. Some of those are like, for example, the Vikings game, we had that big kick return, then we hand it off 3 times and kick a field goal. Like that counts for a game-winning drive for Caleb, but in reality, he didn't really do anything. But Caleb also has drives where he does lead them down the team to go win the thing. So it's cool to see a team fight, because the previous Bears, I mean, you guys know it. As soon as they get behind, it's usually you can chalk the game up because they tuck their tails between their leg and woe is me, and they're just sorry, that there's just always excuses. But Ben Johnson got these guys fully bought in.
I would agree. He definitely does. He definitely does.
Yeah, but let's hop into, I want to talk or hear your guys' thoughts on your guys' defense because, Ben Johnson had a press conference this week and he did talk about, this is probably the best defense we've played this year coming up. And I agree with them. I mean, it's definitely scary. I can take fault. I know Avery's on here and Avery can say agree to this, but I did think your guys' corners and secondary is pretty average, subpar back there outside of probably Xavier McKinney, who is definitely one of the better safeties in the league. But I thought teams would be able to take advantage of the passing game, but the way your guys' pass rush is getting there, obviously with the huge addition of Micah Parsons right before the season started. I mean, that pass rush, it scares me, especially Micah Parsons. This guy is a freak of nature. He's relentless. He's going to chase you down, and he will blow by people. It doesn't matter how good you are. He's going to blow by them. But what are your thoughts of your guys' defense this year? Because it always seemed like you guys had an offense, but this year you guys got that defense. Like, you guys are usually the opposite of the Bears. The Bears always have a good defense, but they don't have an offense to score. And you guys, I feel like it's always been, you've had a really good offense, but average or subpar defense. But this year, it seems like you got both of them. And I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on this defense and what Micah Parsons has done to change this.
Yeah, I agree about that. You never see Green Bay as like a dominant defensive team, especially in recent years. But our offense looks a little bit shaky this year. But losing Tucker Kraft, that was a huge part and stuff, and a bunch of wide receivers getting hurt. So our offense doesn't look the same. But I agree. I've never seen a Packers defense this dominant before. Our corners are weak, but there was a reason we picked up Micah Parsons. If you get a pass rusher out there, your corners don't have to work that hard.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I honestly think. I do think your guys' secondary is still like, I probably wouldn't say it's below average because I still see them make pretty good plays, especially 24. I think that's Valentine for you guys. He makes some pretty good plays on some balls, but it's like you just said, you point out the perfect thing. I think because you have that pass rush, and like you just said, the corners aren't having to guard as long and plays aren't developing a lot downfield, so it makes up for that. But it was a perfect plan because, with Micah Parsons not there, you still have, your Quay Walkers, Rashawn Gary's, rushing, but Micah Parsons is a different breed. And when he's drawing double and triple teams every play, it gives your other guys opportunities to, get to the quarterback and have one-on-one matchups. But it's definitely been a perfect plan and it's worked out so far because I would say by getting Micah Parsons, you guys kind of pushed your chips like all in, and it's not necessarily this year. You guys are going to have Micah for some time, but definitely you probably want to win a Super Bowl with Micah for pushing your chips in like that to go get a player like him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's got 8 sacks on the year, and I think he leads the NFL in pressure. And I think he gets to or leads like the pressure rating of 45%. So I mean, he's definitely a huge addition to our team. And I mean, complements our defense very well, and he draws so much attention to himself. So we'll see how he matches up against the Bears, and we'll see how Caleb Williams really deals with the pressure. We'll see if he could hang in the pocket or if he's gonna scramble. I think he's gonna crumble. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's gonna crumble. I think he's gonna feel the pressure a little bit, especially in Lambeau. The game actually this year's the game, like both games will actually mean something too.
They'll mean
like,
a lot,
unlike
yeah.
last year, yeah. Like the Bears could lose out and not make the playoffs, which is insane. Same with the Packers. So like I don't know, like these games actually really matter. So
Caleb Williams is 1-0 in Lambeau, right?
yeah, I mean, hey, I hear that stat all the
Wait,
time.
isn't Jordan Love 3-0 in Soldier Field, right?
Just
My
saying.
stats might be wrong, right? I don't know.
1-0.
Hey,
Yeah,
I think the last the Bears have 108 or the Packers have 108 to 96 record overall. and I think we're 16-3 against the Bears since like 2015 or something like that. I don't even know.
You've owned
Um,
us.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
So
I
I mean,
agree.
our time is definitely. I mean, we can't stay on top forever, but I mean, hey, I'm glad you guys got your win last year because I was starting to feel bad for the Bears.
It wasn't
Yeah,
fun just keeping those records.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We want a
No,
little competition.
yeah, no, I agree. But the thing with Caleb too that I think a lot of people, and maybe not you guys, like obviously it's hard to watch, especially when Bears Packers are playing at the same time. It's hard to watch other teams' games. I always try to have the NFC North teams if they're playing at the same time up on my TV in front of me and watch them as I can. But with Caleb, I will say that his escapability this year, like last year, he did a lot of Houdini stuff, but it would hurt him where he was taking 10-yard sacks. And this year, his elusiveness, and part of it's probably due to that O line that Ryan Poles has dumped into that interior of the O line and getting them, some actual guys who could block up there. But Caleb can escape a lot of plays. Obviously, Micah Parsons a different beast, but he's done it to very high end sack leaders in the NFL. Brian Burns had a hold of him 3 times in the Giants game, didn't even get 1 sack on him. He's not leading sacks anymore now. Myles Garrett is, but at the time, Brian Burns was with 11, and Caleb eluded him 3 times. And I mean, this isn't just juking him out. This is one time Brian Burns was on his back and Caleb just got out of it. Micah Parsons is a different beast for sure, but I think they're both going to get their fair share of wins. I can see Micah having a sack and a half maybe in this game, 2 sacks. Caleb's done really well this year, even against good defenses and defensive fronts of not taking as many sacks. He's averaging about, I want to say, a little under 2 a game right now, but Micah Parsons will get his fair share, and I think Caleb's going to get his fair share of doing his magic that he does of eluding and getting out of there. But it's going to be interesting to see where you guys line Micah up. That's why I really wanted to talk about this defense, because Micah can line up anywhere. He line up in the A gap. He'll line up right over the center. He'll line up on the edges. It'll be interesting to see. If I were you guys, and I'm Jeff Hafley preparing for this Bears offense, I'm definitely lining him up over Ozzie Trapillo. He's probably the least experienced guy out there. He's a rookie 2nd rounder going into his 3rd start this week. He showed some promise, but obviously when you're blocking Micah Parsons, it's a different story. But I'm going to be honest, though, if he lines up in that interior, I still think he's going to get pressure, but I think it's going to get clogged up a lot better than most people would think. Like Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson there, our center and our 2 guards, they have been – it's literally night and day from last year. Like it really is. They're clogging everything up for the most part. And when there is pressure, it's usually coming from that left tackle position because it is our one weak link, I would say. And I wouldn't even really consider it a weak link. It's just the Bears O-line is really good this year, which it's good to see because I know Avery agrees with this, but he calls the Packers, O-line like a farm system. You guys just bring guys in, and it doesn't matter what round, free agents, whatever, they just step up and play, and your guys' O-line is usually pretty good. But the Bears have never really had it, and it's just good to see this O-line gelling and at least giving Caleb time back there to throw, because last year it was running for your life, and we saw way too many short and quick passes last year just because we didn't have time to block and give Caleb time to actually read a play.
No, I agree
Yeah.
with there. I think for a game plan for the Packers defense is keep Caleb caged up in that pocket. Don't extend his legs out there. Just keep him extended. Our corners have to work harder for that, but I think we get him stuck in the cage. He's not going to making those Houdini throws on the runs.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think the one thing that I've seen on film with Caleb, I watch a lot of all 22 after the games, not of me breaking it down, but high quarterback people, some former NFL QBs breaking down his film. And he had one last week against the Eagles. When that pocket does collapse, sometimes he tends to get happy feet, which is not good for a quarterback. You want a firm base and keep your feet planted. And he'll get these happy feet and rush a throw when his feet aren't set. And that Rome Odunze pass last week, I know, Avery, you know exactly what I'm talking about because we talked about it. I still think Rome could have came back to the ball on that play because it wasn't like he was still breaking out. He was feet set. He just didn't come back to the ball. But at the same time, when you look at Caleb's feet in that, they're rushed and he rushes it because the pocket starts collapsing. And I mean, I think that is a good game plan. You want to keep Caleb in the pocket because if he gets on the run, you got to respect his legs. He's a lot faster than he looks. And then on top of that, like you said, Avery, that's when he makes his magic happen on the run. He could sling the ball just about to any place of the field. And I think even Matt LaFleur said that in the press conference I was seeing on Twitter this week. He said, you know, Caleb, when he's out on the pocket, the whole field is wide open. Doesn't matter across his body or anywhere. He can sling the ball anywhere on the field.
I'll agree. He's been playing pretty good. I do want to say too, though, not to change it up too much, but I know last year, since making the Packers made the playoffs last year, we were the youngest team to ever make the playoffs. And I know we're still pretty young. I think we're still
the
team.
youngest team 3 years in a row.
So which is pretty impressive, I would say. And I mean, one can only hope that it only gets better, especially as the guys, you know, get developed more. And hopefully we keep some guys in the longer term as well. I feel like that's more on the offensive side of the ball. But I think, yeah, containing Caleb Williams and not letting him run the ball. Like, I feel like that's where we get beat up sometimes is we let the quarterback scramble and then pick up the first down using his legs one too many times, and that's what really kills us. And especially last week, as you guys kind of did whatever you guys wanted to the Eagles defense as far as running the ball. Hopefully we could put that to a stop as well. But yeah, that's my take on Caleb Williams and hopefully our game plan to stop him.
Yeah. And I mean, I think as Bears fans, we agree, and I'm sure, Dad, you can speak on this. The one thing that we're missing from Caleb Williams right now is it just needs to be a little bit more consistent as far as some of the throws go. He, like I said, between drops, which there have been a good fair share of drops, but there's also been a good fair of just missed throws. Either they're not on the same page with the receivers or Caleb's just misfiring a pass. We need to see a little bit more of that. It's honestly weird. His completion percentage is worse this year, but everything else statistically is way more, you know, in the positive direction. And I want to see him start completing a little bit more passes and being a little bit more accurate with the football at times. But it is a work in progress, and I think Ben Johnson's got him going in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I'll just say a couple things. One, I know they are the youngest team, the Packers, but looking at the remaining schedule, they may be the youngest team not to be in the playoffs.
No.
But here's what I will say. And Avery and Gav, you guys have probably been watching a little bit of probably the press conferences every week when Ben Johnson talks. And it seems like every time he talks, especially like you think about the bye week going, he was a little upset with the run game. And then all of a sudden, you know, we have one of the top rushing offenses out there. And then this week, he's talked a lot about the passing game between, you know, not only the quarterback, but also the wide receivers. I got a feeling this may be the game where you see Caleb put up a lot of yards. So I know Micah wearing that number 1 jersey. He's Superman when it comes to that defensive line. But as Dylan said a little bit earlier, that secondary struggles. It's ranked, you know, depending on which source you look at, between 20th in the league or 23rd in the league, just in the secondary. And if our O-line continues to do how they have been doing, especially with their PFF grades, Parsons may not be an issue, and that secondary could get torched. With Caleb, and it could be pretty interesting where then Caleb goes 2-0 in Lambeau. That even rhymes, right? 2-0 in Lambeau.
I will say the key to the Bears' success when it comes to this offense, they got to keep this running game going, and it doesn't need to be 250 yards by the running backs again, but it needs to be another, you know, we average about 153 per game right now. It's got to be up in the hundreds. I would say right around the 150s if we want to be successful, because if we're not able to run the ball and they're just able to tee off on passing downs and just know we're pass because they're just shutting down the run. Because what can happen too is this is why it's good to have a run game, because if we're running the ball well, you guys are going to have to move up your safeties. You're going to have to move up your cornerbacks to start stacking the box. And then that's when Ben Johnson's going to hit you with play action plays, deeper balls down the field to chunk plays. which the Bears do lead the NFL still. They've led it every week. And still to this point, they have the most explosive plays in the NFL, which those are 20-yard passing plays or 10-yard rushing plays. They're about to be over 100 probably after this Packers game. They're in the high 90s right now. But I will say the Bears' success is gonna come down to being able to establish that run game, and then off of that, Caleb hitting his passes in the passing game. And I think the main thing I think the biggest part of this game is the Bears O-line versus your guys' D-line. I think that's going to be the story of the game, and whoever can really win that battle is going to probably win this game, because it'll be interesting. And with Ben Johnson, the one thing that he does well in play calling is he has so many guys in motion, and after the snap has happened, guys are pulling and whamming and going in different directions. And what happens and why the run game is so successful is because all the gaps, like linebackers and corners, the gaps they're supposed to fill, their gap integrity, well, everyone's going all over the place. They don't even know where that gap is actually at that they're supposed to fill, because there's people going all over the place and setting up these blocks. And it'll be interesting to see. But I think that is, what is going to decide this game is the Bears O-line versus your guys' D-line. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe we can go around and talk about some keys to victory. And for you guys, you can give some of your Packers keys to victory. But I think the Bears key is stopping this D-line. They're going to get their pressures. It's going to happen. They're a good defense, but it's about limiting those and still being able to have a good run game and running the pass game off of that.
No, I agree with you, but I want to go back to that where the Bears offense, they leave the most explosive plays. Don't hold me accountable, but I'm pretty sure the Packers defense has the least amount of explosive plays on them. Even with how shaky our defensive ends are, not ends, DBs are.
Yeah, no, you're correct. I saw that earlier this week that Packers have given up the least amount of explosive plays, which that's why I'm saying it's two immovable forces just going head on. They're going to be colliding. And I really think that is the story of the game. I think your offense, like you said, it's been up and down, but Jordan Love does seem to heat up around this time. They do call him Toyotathon when it comes to this time period, and has a pretty darn good record when it comes to these games that really matter down the stretch. And I think your guys' offense is gonna do its thing, but it'll be interesting. TJ Edwards and Noah Sewell back at practice this week, and Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon, they're all back. It will be the healthiest our defense has been all year, which is definitely interesting to see. But I do just think this is going to come down to the Bears offense versus the Bears offense versus this Green Bay defense. I really do.
Yeah, I can agree on that.
Most games are.
But
Yeah.
I did want to say about the Packers' key points of winning this game is more focusing on our offense. If we could get out there, if Josh Jacobs could get those big running plays that he hasn't had most this year. And plus, you're playing against Matt LaFleur. His best month is December. I'm pretty sure he's 16-0. That's when the Packers starts heating up, getting into the playoff talks. The past 2 years we started, especially his first year with Jordan Love, we looked horrible. Then once it got to the end of the year, we started focusing on the right plays.
Yeah. And I think too, I know you've expressed your frustrations to me about it, Avery, about Matt LaFleur not really trusting Jordan Love, even though this year Josh Jacobs has definitely had a down year compared to last year. Not touchdowns wise, but rushing yards wise. He's not been the same, explosive player that you can rely on as much. But it seemed for a while, it did seem like Matt LaFleur was not wanting Jordan Love to throw, even though it looks like the best part of your guys' offense. And I will say last week in Thanksgiving, it looked like finally Matt LaFleur said, all right, here you go, Jordan, go do your thing. And he did his thing. The thing that still blows my mind is how he does those back foot throws. I mean, it honestly blows my mind how especially that fourth down one to seal the game against the Lions. I mean, guy in his face, takes a step back, throws it into the one spot where the receiver could catch it. And heck of a catch by the receiver too, because as much as we were talking about the Bears dropping balls, I know you guys are pretty used to it over there with your receivers. But last week, I think your guys' receivers played amazing, especially Dontavian Wicks, I think his name is number 13. He had a bunch of big catches in that game, and he's usually one of your guys that is dropping passes. But he made some crazy catches in that game when they mattered. And if you guys can start doing that, I mean, it's going to be a good game. I'm personally just happy that both the Bears and Packers are atop this division, and it's a meaningful game in December, not just the Bears are trying to end a losing streak against the Packers. I think it's just going to make the rivalry fun because it really hasn't been a rivalry, to be honest.
Yeah, plus I think it's going to be more heated now. Like Ben Johnson's throwing shots at Matt LaFleur. People think, oh, are you guys old buddies? Matt LaFleur, no, never talked to the guy before. But, without football, you can't think about Bears, Packers.
Yeah, no, you can't. It's the longest storied rivalry in the NFL. And like you said, Ben Johnson opened his press conference, taking shots saying he's 5-1 against Matt LaFleur. Obviously different. Detroit's offense, was humming last year or the past couple of years. They were one of the top offenses every year. And you can clearly, I think we all can agree in this call, the Lions miss Ben Johnson. They got Dan Campbell calling plays now. They're 0 for like 10 on fourth downs in the past 3 games. You can tell they miss Ben Johnson out there. And probably a big reason they're starting to not decline. I still think the Lions are a good team, but they're definitely not the powerhouse they have been the past couple years. And it'll be interesting. I think that's the other thing I would say in all these other matchups, you guys have had the coaching advantage. And now I think the coaching is pretty even. I think Matt LaFleur obviously is higher than Ben Johnson just to the longevity and him doing it for multiple seasons. But I think Ben Johnson's starting to make a case too that he's going to be a pretty good head coach. And then obviously I don't think Jeff Hafley gets enough credit for you guys because like you said, Avery, this defense you guys usually have about an average defense and it often like hinders you at times, but he's got this defense playing at an unreal level. And even last year with a lack of players, the defense was playing pretty well last year too. It just, now you add a special piece that every defensive coordinator would love to have. And he's got your guys' defense playing at a very high level. And I think it's pretty balanced all around because Dennis Allen, we often forget to give him credit on the Bears, but the man has come in and like I said, our defense has not been healthy 1 week this season. This is probably the healthiest it's been outside of Tremaine Edmonds being on IR, but Dennis Allen has had to put multiple pieces in there and find game plans, and it always seems like whoever has to step up and make a play, they do, and that's a credit to the coaching. And I think it's going to be a pretty even game. We do a pretty fun segment on our pregame shows. We go around, give our MVPs of the game. Obviously, you guys are going to pick your offensive MVP for a Packers player and a Packers defensive player, and then we do our score predictions as well. So I'll let you guys, since you're our guest, kick it off. Whoever wants to start first, an offensive MVP of the game, a defensive MVP, and then your final score predictions. So whoever wants to kick it off can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think on the offensive side, I think as long as he comes back and actually plays, I think Jaden Reed is the offensive MVP. I think we get him going early, and I think we get him going with some jet sweeps, some bubble screens, maybe. As long as he continues, as long as he plays and shows up, I think he becomes one of our star. And then on the defense, obviously Micah Parsons. I mean, I think he eats up Caleb Williams. I'm not gonna lie. I think he just absolutely eats him up. And then for the score, I'll probably say, I do think we're gonna split. I think we win in Lambeau and you guys win in Soldier, especially with our schedule coming up. Like I think it's the Bears, then we play the Broncos, and then the Ravens, then back to the Bears. So that's a pretty tough, grueling 3-4 weeks. So I think we win 31-24. I think in Lambeau, and then that takes us through week 14.
Yeah, with my offense MVP, I think it's going to be Jordan Love. I think Matt LaFleur is going to trust him more. We're going to start throwing the rock more, especially in getting. Hopefully, we get Jaden Reed this week. Matthew Golden should be coming back. Hopefully, he could start his career. But my defensive MVP got to be Micah Parsons. There's a reason we brought him in. he's been winning us games, Cardinals and stuff. But honestly, I think the Bears might getting a little too hot, a little cute out here. I gotta be like Packers. I'm gonna say 34-17.
Oh wow! All right, go ahead, Dad.
Whew. Caleb Williams, offensive MVP. They've been talking about it all week long. There's no way it doesn't happen. Every time Ben Johnson talks about something, that's usually what happens. So I'm going Caleb Williams, and he will Houdini Micah Parsons. Potentially when he does, it's going to be a bomb downfield for a tutty. And then defensive player, I'm going to go with I got to go with Jalen Johnson. He played a great game last week. I think he plays another great game this week. I'm going to go low-scoring game. It's going to be freezing cold up there in Lambeau on Sunday, so not very favorable weather. But I'm going to say 17-14 Bears.
I don't know if it's going to be that low scoring. For me, I'll kick it off for offense. I'm going to go to a guy that's been pretty quiet. He's been, he started his year off pretty hot in his second year. And this year, so far as the season's gone on, he's had games, but he's also not had his games that he was having in the beginning. I'm going to go with Rome Odunze as my offensive MVP. I think he got off to a hot start, like I said, and it's kind of just been, 50, 60 yards here and there in these games, but I think he's due for a big game. I'm going to go with Rome Odunze as this offensive MVP for the Bears. And when it comes to the defense, I'm going to go with Kevin Byard, the guy that leads the NFL in interceptions. I think Jordan Love is going to heave up a couple of balls that he likes to throw, and he does put him on the money sometimes, but this year, Kevin Byard, when it comes to reading defenses, you can tell he watches a lot of film and is prepared for these games. That one pick he had last week against the Eagles, if you watch the next gen stats, he had a 5% chance of the live tracking where they do the advanced stats of picking off that pass. He literally started on the other side of the field, run all the way over, full sprint, diving catch. He's reading the field at an unreal level right now. I'm going to go with Kevin Byard as my defense MVP. I think he gets an interception in this game. And for my score predictions, I'm going to ride. I agree with Gavin. I do think the Bears and Packers are going to split. I think each team's going to get one win. It'd be nice if the Bears can, sweep them and we can start our little win streak to maybe counter their 11 wins in a row. But I do think ultimately, I don't know who's going to win where. But I do think the Bears-Packers will split. I think both these teams are going to be in the playoffs, representing the NFC North. And who knows, maybe this will end up being a playoff match and we'll play 3 times a year. But I got to go Bears 27, Packers 24. I think it's going to be a grueler game. It's a division game. They're going to be close, and we've seen enough of them this year as Bears fans. It gets my heart racing. And I also want to throw it out there, too. I'll be on the plane for the end of this game. So it's going to be – my phone will be on Do Not Disturb because if it doesn't – I'm going to try to get Wi-Fi on the plane, but Allegiant always kind of shoots me in the foot. And they're like, oh, there's actually no Wi-Fi on the plane. We'll just refund you your money. So I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And if I can't watch the game on the plane, I will watch it when I land. So I don't have any spoilers. I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. But – I do think it's going to be a good game nonetheless. It's about time the Bears are pulling their end of the weight. I can't say it enough. It makes it this much more exciting. And as much, especially to Avery, I like to banter with you a lot. We get in some pretty heated arguments. Avery tells me to stop texting the group chat because I'm putting in too much Bears statistics. But it's what makes football fun at the end of the day. It's something we all get to come together and enjoy watching and talking about. So I'm excited. If anyone's got any other final thoughts before we get out of here, I just think it's going to be a good one.
Since we do have Bears versus Packers week, right? Big week, and we got 2 Packers, 2 Bears here. Do we put painted fingernails on this with whatever team wins?
No.
Limit to those 11 games in a row. You guys
Caleb
in a row, maybe.
Caleb hasn't been here for those 11 games.
I mean, only one side is painting their nails. Let's be real here. It ain't us. It ain't us.
I'm just saying, if you believe in the Packers so much, you'd be okay with that bet.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting, but we don't need a bet on that. But I will let you know if the Bears make the playoffs, my fingernails will be painted for every game. Promise you that. I'm riding with Caleb ride or die. He's gotten a lot of criticism. Some of it fair, but the way he gets looked under a microscope every play is insanity to me. It's all about winning. You got to win games. You can't lose games. And now he's 9-3, and there's still some excuses about this Bears team. But I think the Bears have finally, especially after last week, big statement win, can finally move into the conversation. They're a good football team, and we'll see what happens from here on out. But it was definitely fun having you guys on here. You guys are our first guest of our podcast. It was fun getting the other opposing side on here and talking football. For all our viewers out there, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Please make sure to turn on the bell notifications. Stay updated when we post. Always pregame, postgame shows. Who knows? Maybe we guys have you guys on for the postgame show. Maybe, hey, let's make this bet. No matter what happens, no matter who wins or loses, we get back on here for a postgame show, no matter what. And we can run it back. Listen, so whoever loses, we can have a chance at it back. We'll get on here again for week 14, or not week 14, week 17, and when we play you guys again at Soldier. But let's make that a deal. Are you guys in agreement for that? No matter what happens, everyone gets on the podcast afterwards. There won't be any hate speech, maybe a little bit of bragging, but let's make a deal right now.
I'll do it because I'm
Sure,
confident.
why not?
I know we'll be coming back after a win.
I think either way, it'll be fun having you guys on here again in the post game. You got whoever wins, loses. We can talk about the game as well. What went wrong, what went right for each team, especially with them both being at the top. But you heard it here, guys. We'll have them back on in the post game show, and make sure to scroll down in the description as well. We'll have all our social media there to follow along with Bears updates. But thank you guys for coming on. It's been a fun one. Dad, we'll sign him out in the Bear Down tradition way. We'll catch you in the post-game show, but for now, Bear down.